beware, beware. This is a warning. The Grim Reaper of radio, Bob Romanik, with his off-the-record show is about to air. He's probably the nastiest and craziest son of a bitch that you've ever had the misfortune to encounter. The Grim Reaper show will be very controversial and probably quite tasteless. If you are even slightly offended by controversial matter concerning religion, racial matters, politics, or life's problems, you are hereby warned to turn this program off immediately. The Grim Reaper show will be, like his face, very scary and very ugly. At this time, not proudly, but shamefully presents to you Bob Romanik, the craziest son of a bitch on the radio today.
This is Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, America's bi-state voice of freedom, your guardian of the First Amendment. You hear me, people? Guardian of the First Amendment. Radical Radio. And we are, as always, proud, very, very proud to be the Patriot. Sitting across from me today is a gentleman I have nothing but total respect for, a friend of mine, a fighter for the people, Mr. James Ingram. He's an award-winning, hard-hitting reporter for the St. Louis American. He used to have a radio show on 920 WGNU. It was also hard-hitting, but on the radio, sometimes if you don't own the station or have family members that own it, you can't always say what you want to say. But James Ingram did a great job on the radio. Like to get him back on. A great reporter for the St. Louis American. He's going to be with me. And anytime James is with me, and it's an honor and a privilege to have him, he knows on 920, he had to kind of watch what he said. But here at KQQZ, he can just open up, and he can get a little crazy. Last time I had to make him put his shirt back on. I think he got a little too crazy for me even, and also the beautiful, and she's no longer a judge, but she's earned the title of judge forever, Judge Lanina Kaysen. And we're going to talk about some of the ins and outs, some of the good and bad about St. Clair County. And I'm going to have to prod her a little bit because she's a nice lady and she doesn't want to talk bad about anybody. But, you know, when somebody, and this is Bob Romanik, let me give this disclaimer. These two nice people are here to be transparent, to let you know what's going on in their world. They're not here to endorse Bob Romanik. They're not here to endorse anything I say, anything I do. They're here to talk about what's going on in their world, so don't hold anything I say against these two nice people. But Judge Lanina Kaysen, and I have to say, this is Bob Romanik. I can't believe the political arm of St. Clair County treated her like they treated her. Bob Romanik's opinion. Lanina Kaysen gets appointed 8-10 years ago, and I'll get all the facts from her. 8-10 years ago, big fanfare, 12 years ago. Big fanfare, a proud black lady, an intelligent lady, and an attorney. What a great cause to bolster the black community, to show that a proud black lady can make it on her own, do something positive, not only for the black community, but for the entire community. Everything went fine. Great judge, got good ratings, and we'll talk about those bullcrap ratings a little bit later. But all of a sudden, she wanted to elevate herself. She wanted to be not an associate judge. She wanted to be a circuit judge. A circuit judge is one that gets elected by the people. And then the circuit judges appoint the associate judges. She had paid her dues, been there 12 years in the judicial system in the 20th Judicial Circuit. So, and I'm not speaking for her, but I know her mindset. It was, hey, it's time for me to expand my horizon. I paid my dues. There's been judges, circuit judges, that just got out of law school that were endorsed and became circuit judges. And these guys ended up being good judges. But a lady after 12 years, I think that's long enough to wait. And I don't know, maybe I'll ask her, but she waited and waited. the Democrats, no, we don't want you to run. See, the Democrats in St. Clair County, you've heard me from day one, they want to dictate to everybody what to do and how to do it. Laninia Kaysen wasn't going to be dictated to because she's a proud black lady. So she said, hey, if I can't run on the Democratic ticket, I have no other choice but to run on the Republican ticket. And she has every right as an American people. We all have a right to run for anything we want without being chastised, without being downgraded, without being told that you're going to lose your job if you do something like that. She took the chance. Hard-fought election. She lost. But that's okay. You hear one of our promos. You know what it says? He lost 2 businesses. He ran for Congress, and he lost. He ran for Senate, and he lost. And I'm somewhat paraphrasing. He ran for vice president, and he lost. But this man was no loser. It was Abraham Lincoln, one of our best presidents in this great United States. So Laninia loses, Judge Kaysen. And you know what they say, the Democrats? You went against our wishes, like they're the political god. Well, they are the political gods of St. Clair County. You went against our wishes, so we're going to strike you down. So now, all of a sudden, she gets bad ratings from some of the attorneys. And I read in the paper, 75% of the attorneys they talked to, and I guess they rated her, were never in front of her for any kind of legal action. How the hell can you rate somebody for their judicial prowess if you've never been before them, if you've never got a ruling? And I say, if over 51% of these lawyers vote good about somebody, something's wrong, because you're always going to get somebody pissed at you in a case because you can't rule for both sides. So it's not a popularity contest. It's a qualification contest. It's an ethical and a moral contest. And I believe Judge Laninia Kaysen lived up to all those high standards. But because she chose to exercise her right as an American, a proud black lady, to run, and I'm going to make it somewhat racial. The white boys in Belleville, hey, we're not going to have a proud black lady tell us what we're going to do. We're not going to let somebody think on their own. But Laninia Kaysen did think on her own. And because of that, she got penalized. She got chastised. And I think she'll be here to tell us. And I know I'm not going to get as much as I want out of her because she is a nice lady. But I'm going to try to pull because we want to try to get to the bottom of it. So stick around. And James Ingram, I don't have to say anything to him. He's ready. He's ready to come out of the gate swinging. And we're going to be swinging here momentarily. Don't forget, coming up tomorrow, July the 3rd, starts at 5 p.m., the Caseyville Picnic and Fireworks. Music, firecrackers, car cruises, military artifacts, washer tournaments, corn on the cob eating contest. Now the politicians have a corn on the COs. Well, never mind. That's another contest that the politicians have. A lot of food, a lot of fun. The rain date's going to be for Sunday, but hopefully everything will work out tomorrow, July the 3rd. And again, I want to salute my good friend, Mayor Lynn Black, for the great job he's done in Caseyville. The Moose, the family fraternity out of Belleville and Swansea, 1221. Their 5th annual golf tournament, Saturday, July the 11th at Triple Lakes Golf Course. If you have any questions or concerns, you can call Royce Braden at 618-539-6030. You can pick me up on iTunes. Type in Bob Romanik and or the Grim Reaper of Radio. You can go to our streaming, insanebroadcasting.com. One word, common spelling, to pick up all 3 of our great stations. You can like us on Facebook at KQQZ 1190 AM or our sister station, the best in the golden oldies, at KZQZ 1430 AM, and go to KQQZ 1190 AM. You can get the whole interview with me and a nice young reporter from Belleville, Vic Faust, and it'll show you what sweet, and I got to say, sweet cakes. You're probably the worst county board chairman we've ever had, but you are probably the best looking. I saw you in that 2-piece bikini, and you guys got to drive by South Illinois and Belleville to see sweet cakes in a 2-piece bikini, really looking pretty hot. You can pick up my repeat performance every day at 4 o'clock p.m. You can also listen to me every night at the stroke of midnight. I'm broadcasting from the graveyard to the graveyard shift every night, Monday through Friday. On this date, July the 2nd, 1850, Benjamin Lane patented a gas mask with a self-contained breathing apparatus. On this date, July the 2nd, 1901, Butch Cassidy, the real Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, robbed a train of $40,000 in Wagner, Montana. On this date, July the 2nd, 1915, a German professor from Cornell University exploded a bomb in the United States Senate. On this date, July the 2nd, 1937, Amelia Earhart disappeared over the Pacific during an attempt to be the first woman to fly solo around the world. July the 2nd, 1956, Elvis Presley recorded Hound Dog and Don't Be Cruel. On this date, July the 2nd, 1961, Ernest Hemingway committed suicide by shooting himself with a 12-gauge shotgun. On this date, July the 2nd, 1964, President Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act. On this date, July the 2nd, 1979, the Susan B. Anthony dollar, the first United States coin to be honored for a woman, was issued. On this date, last but not least, July the 2nd, 2002, balloonist Steve Fawcett became the first human being to fly an air hot balloon around the globe nonstop. That's what happened on this date, July the 2nd, throughout all these years in our world's history. James Ingram, how in the hell are you doing, buddy?
Doing well, Bob. I was doing even better until I walked in and saw you sitting across the table from me. But
all right, hey, let me handle it.
It comes with the territory, Bob.
Hey, James, and seriously, what a great guy. I read your article every week. You do in print what I do by voice. You do a great job. You don't pull any punches. Anybody, you need to get, where's the circulation? It's hard for me to get a St. Louis American on this side of the river.
I'll tell you, Bob, if you go to any Walgreens in the area, if you go to any Schnucks, you're going to find the St. Louis American. And I'm talking as far as Creve Coeur in West County, as far as Shiloh on the Illinois side, you're going to find it there. You'll see the bright red news boxes all throughout downtown St. Louis, East St. Louis City Hall. You'll see them all up and down State Street. So it's out there.
Now, dude, can we go online to get it, or can we?
Absolutely. And let me mention this. Not only can you go online and you go to www.stlamerican.com. The St. Louis American is the #1 black newspaper in the country, and it also has the #1 website for a black weekly, and it also happens to be the #1 weekly black, white, or any newspaper in the country. So it's an outstanding publication.
Is there a phone number if somebody wants to get the subscription sent to their house? What do we do about that, James?
Well, since it's free, you don't have to get a subscription. We don't charge that 50-cent fee that the monitor charges. That not, and I understand I'm not being derisive.
No, but that's a fact.
They have to charge that in order to pay for the paper. I get that, but it's a free publication. But if you need to talk to someone at the American, you want to advertise or do anything like that, you can dial 314-533-8000.
Okay, hey, James, we're going to get with Judge Kaysen after our next break at about 10:30, so guys, stick around because it's going to be very, very interesting. This nice lady is fighting the fight as she always has. The Kaysens are decent people, but I don't think any of the Kaysens are going to be ran over, and I think Judge Laninia Kaysen, I think that's what happened, and I personally don't think she's happy, and I'm going to get her side of the story. We can read the crap in the newspaper. We can hear on the streets what the judges say about, she got a bad rating, but you know what? Those polls, those statistics, I can switch around. We can all switch around. We've all been there, done that. So those polls mean nothing to me. But, James, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this flag situation. And I know you're a proud black man, very proud black man. And I say this every time, James. I deplore what the Confederate Army, the Confederate States were about. I believe every man, and everybody hears me every day, everybody should be free, should be able to have freedom of speech, freedom of movement. I'd be a hypocrite if I said or felt any otherwise. But having said that, and being against the Confederate flag and the philosophy, I think it's asinine. We cannot change our world's history. They want to take the flags down. They want to take the monuments down. The next thing, and these are proud blacks, and I understand their feeling, but they got to get past their feeling because their feelings are great. but it's not as great as our freedoms in this great United States of America. By their philosophy, the next thing they're going to do, there's a lot of Confederate soldiers buried in all these national cemeteries. What, are we going to dig them up and throw them in the Mississippi? We're going to take their tombstones and just crush them? What's your take?
Let me say this, and I respect, as you know, your opinion, and you look at it from the perspective of a white man. I look at it from the perspective of a black man. One thing that's interesting, and I find very interesting, is that the Jews were annihilated during the Holocaust by Germans. And their mantra is never again. Blacks were lynched, enslaved, murdered, raped, and pillaged under that Confederate flag. So to a black person, the Confederate flag is representative of the same thing that the swastika is representative of to the Jews. My father's from Brownsville, Tennessee. My grandfather is from Columbus, Mississippi. Both of those states were under the Confederacy. And I heard horrific stories as a child coming up from both of them in terms of what happened to their friends, to their relatives under that flag. So I have a starkly different take on that flag and what it represents to me. I'm an advocate of freedom of expression, and I don't have a problem with someone having that flag or possessing that flag. But if they're doing those things that I referenced, if they have that attitude that I just referenced, then I have a major problem with it.
James, you know what? Great point, but that's the problem. It's the symbol. It's the symbol. This guy that killed these 9 people, and I felt sorry for those church people and their families, he had a Confederate flag shirt on. I saw a killing a year ago. The guy that killed somebody walking down the street had an Elvis Presley shirt on. I understand what you're saying, but you say you see it as a black man, I see it as a white man, but we both have to get past some of that on both color, both races. We got to think as American people, it's a right, it's a freedom. But now you talked about the swastika. We can't get on Amazon a Confederate flag. We can't get on eBay a Confederate flag, but we can get a Nazi flag for $24.95 on eBay, on Amazon. The flag that flew while 7 million innocent Jews were burned. See, it's not a black-white thing. To me, it's a right and wrong thing.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure the Jews are appalled by it, and I'd like to hear their opinion about that particular issue. But again, that doesn't minimize my feelings in terms
and I understand that.
of what the history that I know about that Confederate flag and what it represents. See, that young man that you just referred to, he didn't go into a white Christian church with a Confederate flag on and annihilate a dozen white people. He purposely, and he expressed later on that he deliberately picked that church because it was a black historical church which had a history of activism in the South. So he was very pointed and deliberate in terms of what he did. So in that sense, that Confederate flag in his heart and in his mind represented the oppression of these black people when he annihilated them.
I agree with you. Now, let's talk the same scenario. He goes into the same church, the same white guy, and he's got on an American flag. Do we stop flying the American flag? Do we take all of our freedoms away? And not making light of the 9 people killed in that church, but at the end of the day, James, and I'm not coming at you with this. I know you're a proud black man. This has been going on. I don't agree. I remember the Westboro Baptist Church, these stupid white, primarily white, ignorant son of a bitches out of Topeka, Kansas, that said that the military are dying because there's gay people in the United States. They had a funeral that they were protesting in Belleville. Mm-hmm. I went up there, and I started giving them hell. They had every right to say, well, I never agreed with anything. But the police, doing their job, said, Bob, you better get away because we're probably going to have to arrest you. But how ironic that they were being protected, these no-count lousy bastards from the Westboro Baptist Church, they were being protected by the same rights that they were denouncing. And it's just the same way with this Confederate flag. And I don't want to go crazy with it because I am a proud white man. I respect the black community. But more than respecting the black community, and the black community respecting the white community, we got to respect our American community, and that's freedom of speech, freedom of expression. If we take it away, and one last thing, James, and I'll let you have the last couple words before we take a break. The flag flew. The Confederate, I said this yesterday, and I'll keep repeating it because this is the point I'm trying to make. The Confederate flag flew. They hung proud black people, innocent black people. They enslaved black people. It was bad. Let's get rid of the flag. Okay, that's our premise. Get rid of that symbol. The Nazis burned 7 million innocent Jews. So under this premise, let's get rid of the Nazi flag. But here's the most egregious. These people come in, stole these poor people's lands, burn them out, burn women, children, burn everybody, try to annihilate their whole race. You know who that was? The proud Native American community. And you know what flag flew under the auspices of killing all these innocent people, taking all their land? The United States of America flag. So under that premise that people are talking now, all flags, all three of those flags. Now, if we're going to get rid of the Confederate flag, let's get rid of the Nazi flag, and let's also get rid of the United States of America flag, the United States of America that I love, that I would die for. But what's right's right. James, your take.
Interesting that you kind of segued into that point because it gives me mixed feelings whenever the anthem is played and when we as we're about to embark upon the celebration of the 4th of July holiday. I have a whole different opinion about that holiday. Obviously, I was born in America. I'm an American. In that sense, I'm not a person who won't stand when the anthem is being played or when the flag is being raised. But it's one of these relationships in which it's almost like being born into an incestuous family. You know, someone says, well, you know, you ought to be happy. You got a roof over your head. You got food on the table. You got clothes on your back. But you got a father who rapes you. You have a father who molests you. You have one who beats you, who takes advantage of you in some way. So as an African American, we have mixed feelings about this thing, and it's not very often expressed. So you're absolutely right in saying that an equal amount of devastation was heaped upon us as blacks, upon the Native Americans, among the Hispanic population in this country under that American flag that you talk about here on the station so often. So you know you can understand the mixed emotions that you have in this country when you know that you've been oppressed under the very flag that we see flown on top of the Capitol, that we see displayed throughout America.
Here's what I talked earlier to Judge Kaysen, and I never got her opinion on it because we were getting ready to go on the air. But now here's a situation. And I've got a lot of proud black friends. I grew up in the black community. And actually, at least the blacks, and I make kind of light of this, the poor, impoverished blacks had the NAACP. Us poor white trash. I was poor white trash. We didn't have anybody trying to help us out. But having said that, I believe in fighting for a cause. And I've always said I'd rather have 10 black men fighting for me than 100 whites because us whites, we're lame. We'll back off. And that's just the way it is. But you can take it to the extreme, James. Now they're taking Dukes of Hazzard off the air because of the Confederate flag. And you know what I say to that? And here's my analogy. Me and you're in a tavern. One of our enemies is in there, and somebody starts beating the hell out of him, and we're cheering him on. Beat the hell out of him. He beats the hell out of our enemy. The guy's laying there bloody. The guy goes, gets a drink to beat the hell out of our enemy. Then he comes back, starts kicking him in the head. That's overkill. That's overkill. Now, my enemy becomes my friend because I'm going to protect him because he can't protect himself. And I think that's what's happened here. And I don't know if it's a black community. It may be the white community. These politicians, they want to keep us divided and separated. But when you come to the point where you got to get rid of the Confederate flag off the car on Dukes of Hazzard, then I think they're pushing it too far. And I think the community, whether it's black, white, the political community that's trying to keep this going, I think this is a little overkill, and I think this may backfire on them. What's your points?
Well, I think there may be a little bit of overreach when you're talking about a sitcom that does all those things. But it's interesting you said that you, as a white man, you didn't have anybody representing you when you came up. What's interesting about that, and I don't think you want the NAACP helping you out when you got people like Stanley Franklin who gives black scholarships to white folks.
Thank you.
But at the end of the day, You could be the poorest, most low-down white person in this society.
And I am, but go ahead.
But they always have the ambition that they can one day be president or senator, because historically, when they look at the presidents that we've had, 43 out of 44 have been white. When you look at the Senate and its composition and the House of Representatives, most of the time they're going to be white individuals. So they always have this thing in the back of their mind that I might be in the gutter today, but I always have the opportunity to come up at some point because I'm a white man or a white woman in America.
You know what, James? I got to disagree with you. See, I didn't live in your shoes. You didn't live in our shoes. I mean, we were talked down on. We ate one meal a day. We were poor white trash. No, I'm just because we didn't have any money. But I got to say, I fought hard my whole life, not thinking I could be the president. I didn't fight for the feeling of success. I fought, and I wanted to be successful out of the fear of failure. And that's why I fight, because I don't want to fail, because every poor white trash, every black person is meant to fail, and I was going to let these bastards in Belleville and all throughout. I come up the hard way in the Roosevelt Homes, poor white trash. I was not going to fail. I was going to do the best I could. It wasn't a color thing with me. It was a fear of failure, and I wasn't going to fail.
I understand, but you also had white examples around you of successful whites that you could aspire.
Well, that's true.
Whose level
true.
You could aspire to. And when I look at you today, I mean, you put yourself down. You call and yes, your prerogative. You call yourself poor white trash. You say all these things, but you're not the poor in terms of intellect. You're not poor in terms of spirit. You're not poor in terms of ambition. So there's a lot, and a lot of people will say to me, that Bob Romanik, he's a crazy SOB and he's this and that and the other. And I said, he's crazy like a fox. He's not a dumb individual. He's highly intelligent, and don't think I'm looking at the preparation, this vast preparation that you have in front of you for the show.
Ass, yeah.
You're not an illiterate person. You're not a person who does not read and process information. When you come to this table and you make your point, you may do it in a whimsical way, in a comical way, but there's a lot of thought that goes behind it.
You know what? I'm not pouring anything other than looks, unlike yourself. A proud, good-looking black man. But having said that, we're up against a hard break. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back with James Ingram, a hard-hitting, award-winning reporter for the St. Louis American. You've heard him. What a great guy. And Judge Lenina Kaysen, a beautiful jurist who has been, I won't use that term, who has been taken advantage of, I think, by the politicians, because she wanted to be a jurist, not a politician. And I think it backfired, but I think she'll come out winning in the end. We'll be back right after this break. This is Bob Romanik. The Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, America's bi-state voice of freedom. And proud to be your First Amendment and all-American station, Radical Radio at its finest. And we stand tall as the Patriot.
From KQQZ 1190 AM, St. Louis, Missouri, USA, you're listening to Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio.
This is Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, America's bi-state voice of freedom. And we are proud, very proud to be the Patriot. With me, again, a beautiful lady, a great attorney. She was a great judge. I'd like to see her back on the bench. But I want to say the disclaimer again. You've heard James Ingram. See, I shouldn't have had to say and clarify myself and put a disclaimer out to James Ingram, because he knows about me. I know about him. We're proud Americans. So whatever I say, you all know it's what I say. And James Ingram, he doesn't mix words either. Now, Judge Kaysen, I'm going to be interviewing her here shortly. She's not here to endorse me, my language, my philosophy, and I may get into a situation where either James or I ask her a question that she's not going to be able to answer because of her position as an attorney. They have certain rules and regulations. So if I do, Your Honor, I apologize, but it is an honor and a privilege to have with us Judge Laninia Kaysen, one of the best judges St. Clair County, the 20th Judicial Circuit has ever had. Your Honor, how the heck are you doing?
I am doing wonderful, Bob. Thank you for having me on your show this morning.
Hey, it's always a pleasure. When I have an intelligent, pretty lady, it's always my pleasure. Your Honor, and I know you're a decent lady, and some things you said, Bob, I can't go there because it's just you're a decent person. But I think Bob Romanik's thinking, I can't believe the atrocious way they treated you up in St. Clair County. You give 12 years of service, not to the Democratic Party, but to the people of St. Clair County, and for them to give the old okey-doke and have some of these attorneys, I feel, ought to be ashamed of themselves on this rating in this polls, but I don't give a damn how the ratings in the polls were. I shart Bob Romanik, I shart the judges in the 20th Judicial Circuit because Bob Romanik, I'm accusing all of them of playing politics, all circling the wagon. And a lot of them, Judge Kaysen, I've talked to and they liked you. But I think they were pressured by the Democratic arm of St. Clair County. And what the hell, when we have the Democratic arm, a political arm, dictating to our judicial system, something's not right.
Well, Bob, one of the main reasons why I decided to come on your show today is, first of all, because I've had several phone calls and emails and people approaching me on the street expressing their concern and disappointment that I was not reappointed.
Right.
And I just wanted to let everyone know that I am fine, I'm good. I've been on the bench for 12 and a half years, and the judiciary in the state of Illinois is in good shape. I don't have anything negative to say about the judiciary because it's a fine institution. But with regard to the political aspect of my not being reappointed, I really wasn't that surprised, and that's why I feel real good with myself right now. Because when I was first appointed, it was a rather contentious appointment because I don't know if you all can recall, but some of you all may. Back in 2003 when I was appointed, there was some concern that I was young. I hadn't had that much experience. But I did practice for about 6.5 years. I was a partner in a law firm. I tried cases to verdict all over southern Illinois. So I knew that I was qualified to do the job. And so what happened was the East St. Louis Democratic Party, chaired by Charles Powell, he said that I think you are qualified, and we do need more minority representation.
Right.
And back then, he went door to door to the circuit judges, telling them that we want Laninia Kaysen. And I appreciated Mr. Powell for doing that. And all of the committeemen rallied behind me, and I was appointed. Well, it was perceived that, the legal community didn't like that very much, because I was pushed so hard by the city of East St. Louis, and which had never been done before. Mm-hmm. So when I got there, I was only on there 2 months, and these polls, they come out every 4 years. And I just happened to come in on an appointment year or a poll year. I was only on the bench a couple of months, and the polls came out, and I was not recommended. So, I was like, okay, well, that's fine. So I worked very hard. I wrote articles. I even wrote law for the county in the local probate rules. I taught. I really put it in. And then in 2012, my ratings, went up to over 70%. So it was still low compared to the others. But, I'm making some inroads with the lawyers. And it was that year that a circuit judge election was coming up. Judge Milton Wharton had vacated his office, and I wanted his spot because I felt as though I had paid my dues, I worked hard, bent over backwards to try to do a good job. Uh-huh. And the party decided to endorse another candidate. Well, in the midst of me doing all the hard work that I was doing in the legal community, my mother, who was active in politics in East St. Louis, was just running wild.
That's her prerogative as a mother.
That's her prerogative, and I, as a daughter, and any kid knows that they can't tell their parent what to do, especially one like my mother. So she was, into it with the Democrats in East St. Louis. People were losing their positions, school board members. People were losing their political positions in different municipalities because of my mother's campaigning against corruption, and so all of that was going on, and so I felt as though I was being punished for the sins of my mother, so to speak. Uh-huh. And so I was talked to in a way that was degrading and demeaning, and I'd never been talked to like that as a professional. And so, I just decided, I knew that when I went to the Republican Party, people were like, well, don't do it because you'll lose your job, you do this, you'll be ostracized. And so I took all that into consideration, as I was a lifelong Democrat, been voting Democrat since I was registered to vote at 18. And then when, they endorsed someone that didn't register until they was 38 and hadn't had half the years of experience that I had, and then the way I was talked to, I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to try something new. Then I started looking at my city. What was a personal issue for me, I widened the lens a little bit. And then I was just like, you know what? The streets in East St. Louis are all messed up. It's poverty, joblessness. Our boys and young males are being convicted of felonies at alarming rates. We're a city, and we have villages that have Walmarts and right. Businesses, and I just widened my lens a little bit, and I'm like, I'm gonna try something new. And so I went to the Republican Party, and actually I was approached by the Republican Party to run on their ticket, and it was something that I believed in, and I did it. And I appreciated the Republicans for standing behind me in my efforts to win that vacancy.
You did very well, too, Your
Honor. I garnered about 45% of the Republican vote, and I had never voted Republican, didn't know what a Republican was, really didn't know what a Democrat was.
Right.
I mean, because...
You're a professional person.
I'm a professional person. And but I had always,
swayed
voted
that way because,
right.
And that's your prerogative as an individual.
Absolutely. And I knew that I was taking a big risk because I'm like, oh, my God, the president is a Democrat. The president is my president is a Democrat. My family are all Democrats. And so it was, obviously there had to be something really troubling for me to make a big move like right. that. So that's the story.
So the start of the downfall, when as an American you felt that you wanted the opportunity to be a circuit judge, one party didn't give you the opportunity, the other one did, and that's our right to run. We should all run for office if we feel like we want to. Some people don't want to get in a political setting, but because you exercise your right as an American, some of the rights that, and I've said it before, you walk over and you walk through, and that's what really gives me my incentive. When I get down and say I can't do it anymore, I walk through Jefferson Barracks Memorial Cemetery, and I think these guys fought to give me the freedom to live free, to do what I want, to be free. I'll be damned if I'm going to let those brave military heroes die in vain, and I come back and I'm ready to go the next day. And I think that's probably the same way you felt, Your Honor.
Absolutely. And like I said, what was a personal issue that I had, it broadened into a communal issue. Sure. It just made me look at things just differently, and how we do business, and how we as a community have suffered. At one point, East St. Louis was inhabited by 80,000 people back in the 60s.
100,000, right at 100,000.
Pretty much. And now we're down to 27,000. And I tell people, 27,000. how many of those are kids?
Yeah.
All right. So let's just say 10,000 of them are kids. So you got 17,000 adults. Well, how many adults in the city are on some form of public assistance?
Right.
All right. So that's at least 50%. So you got less than 10,000 grown, working, contributing taxpayers in East St. Louis, a city that used to be inhabited by 80-some thousand people, and it's just not adding up.
Yeah. No, it's not, Your Honor, and I preach it every day, and it's not because of proud black community, and I'm a proud white man. It's not the proud black community doesn't want to work. This is my take. The white boys in Belleville, the plantation owners, put you, and not you, but the proud black community, they want to keep the proud black community on the plantation so they can control the votes. But on a side note, I have to say, I love your mother, and I know she can be a little crazy like me, but this is America. She's got every right, and I want to salute her, because if somebody comes after my family, I'm coming out full bore, and that's what your mother did, and that's what I expect of parents. So I got to say, I believe your mother to be one heck of a parent. James Ingram, what the hell? You've been listening to this. What's your take? Anything you need to clarify with Judge Kaysen?
Let me say this, first of all. You would think that St. Clair County Democratic Party would consider Judge Kaysen to be an asset. Here's an accomplished young lady, highly educated, highly intelligent, who does great work with young ladies. I believe your program's at Diamond in the Rough. She does work with young ladies. She facilitated a panel discussion down in East St. Louis on black male incarceration. She is an asset. She is a liaison for St. Clair County from that bench to East St. Louis. However, they've done nothing but disrespect her. And let me say this, and this in no way reflects the perspective of Judge Kaysen. I have the utmost disrespect for Chief Judge John Barasevic as a man, as a jurist. I remember that infamous interview he did with Elliot Davis when he referred to him as Rufus, which we all as black men must be Rufus to him. But it just shows his disdain for even acknowledging us as individuals. Here's a man, and I sat on this panel that she facilitated for black male incarceration. I looked out into that audience and I watched him smirk and grimace when we were presenting fact after fact in terms of the disparities in sentencing and how blacks are treated in the system. And he just sat there. He came and I was talking to Bill Mason. He reached over me as if I wasn't standing there to shake his hand, as if he has respect for Bill Mason. He tried to slight me, in other words. But, I have to have low self-esteem in order to be slighted. And the problem I have with him is it goes beyond that. It's this business of how the Illinois Bar Association took this anonymous vote as if there's some kind of secret society on a woman that most of them, 75% of them, never even met.
Right.
Which is, we know it's impossible to grade someone or rate someone that you've never met. And then Barasevic, as the Chief Justice, and I can't prove this, but I suspect that he used this as a premise for him to strip Judge Kaysen of her seat. And he used this business, they didn't rate her very highly, and I'm going to take her down. And then they hide the guys on the bench. They hide, behind their anonymity to stab her in the back. I have no respect for cowardice. I have no respect for the way they operate, and at that level. And I'm just curious about how the judge felt about that. To have her colleagues to stab her in the back, and to have these lawyers who never met her to disrespect her in that way.
Well, James, it is what it is. What's done is done. A lot of people were disenchanted, like I said, that I was young. I was 31 when I took the bench. So there were a lot of lawyers who, were saying, oh, well, I've been here. I should be judged. So there was a lot of, hating, a lot of jealousy. But it is what it is. Haters are going to hate, as the kids say, and I'm keeping it moving. So I don't have anything negative to say about any of the judges up there, because that's not who I am. But as far as the political process goes, and people say, well, politics, what got you on the bench? Politics. I said, well, yeah, maybe so, but I never signed up to be disrespected. I never signed up to have anyone talk crazy to me. I never signed up for anybody to play childish games with me. So when I felt that, and when I initiated, the talks to run for circuit judge, and I felt all these things, and I'm like, man, at the time I was on the bench 9 years, I'm like, man, if they're feeling like this now, it's going to take another 9 or 10 years for me to be in good graces with the party, and I don't have that kind of time.
Yeah.
People die every day.
You want to live your life.
Yeah, I want to live my life. I'll be an old woman. My youth will be gone. So when the Republicans, approached me, like I said, I was hesitant because I love Barack Obama, and as our first black president, and my family are all Democrats, and so it was for me to make a move like that. My community, mostly all of the black community are Democrats, so for me to make a move like that, something internally,
drove you to that.
Absolutely.
You're right. Your Honor, you talk about you had 6 years experience. I had a relative, 6 years before you came on the bench.
Oh, yeah, 6.5.
6.5, okay. I had a relative, won't mention his name, that was about 8 months out of law school that became an associate judge. And I say to Barra Civic, Judge Kaysen is not saying this, I am. I personally believe you orchestrated that whole thing to get this proud black lady, this professional black lady, off the bench because she wouldn't kiss your ass. And let me tell you, people, all good people throughout St. Clair County in the 20th Judicial Circuit, he's up for re-election come 2016. We can show how we feel about John Barra Civic. And the last thing, Your Honor, and we're going to have to get out of here shortly, and I'm going to give you the last word. I believe that I elect the circuit judges, that the people of the 20th Judicial Circuit elect the circuit judges. I don't think there should be a secret ballot. I want to know, when we elect the circuit judges, they should come right out and say who voted for the associate judges and who didn't and why. But as James says, they make it so secretive, nobody knows. You can't really place the blame on anybody. Not that you'd want to, but people like me and James Ingram, we want to and we're going to.
Well, circuit and associate judges are governed by statute. So those are the rules. Who am I to change the rules? I'm not a legislator. But
well, you know what, Your Honor? You're not a legislator. But what about you would make a heck of a state representative for the 114th District in Illinois. Think about that, will you? Because we need to keep you around because you are a voice for the people in East St. Louis. You're an intelligent lady. You're a proud black lady. And people say in the white community, let's embrace everybody. Let's be more diverse. How the hell are you going to be diverse when you got rid, and it's primarily the white boys in Belleville, Bob Romanik's word, not Laninha Kaysen's, that got rid of a proud professional black lady, and you talk about diversity, but I'll tell you what, Laninha, and this is Bob Romanik, they'll be kissing every black person's ass below the hill come 2016. It'll be a different situation, won't it?
And another thing is, in any given election, just like in 2012, you can get 10 to 13,000 solid Democratic votes right out of East St. Louis. Mm-hmm. So if someone is losing outside of East St. Louis, all you got to do is just hold on because we got these 13 golden, lovely, solid Democratic votes right here. And guess what? I just won. So we should not take our votes for granted. And we should not let people take our votes for granted.
And manipulate our votes.
And I'm mad because I wanted to go to Schnucks yesterday. And I keep harping on Schnucks because, that was our major grocery chain in East St. Louis.
25th and State, you lost it.
Back in 2009, 2012 when I ran, I didn't think about that. I was thinking about the potholes. But we steady losing.
Yeah.
We keep losing. And I just don't understand why we don't just wisen up sometimes. Wisen up.
Well, we have to change the leadership because the same leadership has screwed us for the last 50 years. We've got about another minute. Judge Lenina Cation, it's an honor and a privilege to have you. In parting, what would you like to say to all of the good people of St. Clair County?
Thank you for allowing me to serve as your jurist for the past 12 and a half years. I'm blessed, I'm good, and I'm grateful, and hope to see you soon in the near future.
And we hope to see you soon. James Ingram, I will give you the last word, the columnist for the St. Louis American. James, I appreciate you not only as a friend, but as a stand-up man, not a black man, not a white man, but an American man, because you're going to tell it the way it is. I'd love to have you come back anytime. What's your parting shots, and how can we get the St. Louis American again?
First, you can get the St. Louis American at any of the little red boxes that you see on the streets, at Schnucks, at Walgreens. You can go to online at www.stlamerican.com. Let me just simply say this. We're talking about political survival on a political plantation, which is what St. Clair County is. And we know the history of plantations. And on that plantation, black folks, the niggers, the coloreds, whatever, how you want to refer to them, always had their place on that plantation. And that was to pick the cotton. In this case, in the political sense, is to harvest those votes for the powers that be in Belleville. And Judge Cation was very accurate and precise in terms of talking about these great votes that they got down in East St. Louis. And it's like taking the cotton from the cotton field and taking it up to the big house. This is what they always count on. And the only way we can counteract that as blacks in East St. Louis, as voters in St. Clair County, is to not make those votes something that can be counted on. So it's not about being a Republican. It's not about being a Democrat. It's about being a wise, thinking voter in St. Clair County, and we need to start to disrupt that process.
James Ingram, I could have said it a little bit better, but I didn't have the time because you took all my time. But thank you very much again. Judge Lenina Cation, thank you very much. James Ingram, and I want to say to everybody, just remember the 2016 election's coming up. For everybody that screwed you, your family, your race, just remember, we can all make a difference. In 2016 is the time we're going to do it. I won't be here tomorrow. I don't hear a lot of cheers and claps, so let's keep that down. We're going to have the worst of Bob Romanik. We're going to be celebrating the 4th of July, thinking about our great country. Let's think about our freedoms. Let's think about the freedoms, and let's don't take other people's freedoms away, because once that starts, our freedoms are in jeopardy. So I want to say we will have the worst of Bob Romanik tomorrow. I wish everybody a happy, friends, foes, political foes, and other, a happy and safe 4th of July. We're going to go out with this song. Normally I don't do this. I'm going to go out with this song and think about it, because this what needs to happen.
I sure wish you'd bless America again. You know, like you did way back when it all began. You blessed her then, but we just sort of kind of took it for granted and never did ask again. So just hold our hand, God, that's all. And if she should stumble, please don't let her fall.
Dry her eyes and let
I don't understand everything I read and hear about what's wrong with America. But when you don't have a lot of book learning, I guess there's a lot of things you don't understand. But let me say this, God. She's like a mother to me, and all I am or ever hope to be, I owe to you and to her. Now y'all let me sing along now. God bless America again. I know you see all the trouble that she's in. Oh Lord, why don't you just watch her pretty face and dry her eyes and then, yeah, God bless America again. My God, watch her pretty face and dry her eyes and then, hear me, Lord. God bless America. God bless America. God bless America. I know He will. God bless America again.
The Patriot.
Your First Amendment and All-American Station. A division of Insane Broadcasting. Renegade Radio.
KQQZ, St. Louis.